tout le monde. Hello everybody. Welcome to the Meet the Artist event at Maison de la Culture Côte des Neiges. I want to present our speakers today. We have Kohsro BERAHMANDI, the General Director and the Artistic Director of Accès Asie. We have Khadija Baker, artist who is exhibiting in the exhibition downstairs, The State of Origin, Real and Imagined. Nous avons aussi Hua Jin, who is originating from China, and she is exhibiting in her works here on this floor in Checkpoints. Donc, est-ce que tout le monde ici parle l'anglais et français aussi? Est-ce qu'il y a du monde ici qui parle seulement le français? Does everybody here speak English? Okay, then I guess we'll do it in English. If I seek into Lithuanian, it's because I haven't had much sleep lately. So to begin with, I would like to welcome our most esteemed Kohsro BERAHMANDI to speak about the beginnings of this mad project. Please.
Well, maybe another mad project, the mother of all mad projects of the festival itself, that maybe I'll mention about that for the ones who don't know about it. Festival Accès Asie reaches its 20th anniversary this year. So 20 years ago, a group of artists who live here in Montreal with Asian descent felt that was necessary to create a platform on which the Asian artists could present their work. And so the adventure began 20 years ago, and accidentally, one of the elements of the festival 20 years ago was held here at the Maison de la Culture Côte des Neiges. So it is an honor for us to come back again after 20 years and have such a amazing exhibition on 3 floors. As you may probably notice when you arrive in the Maison de la Culture, downstairs there is an exhibition about the festival, about the Asian Heritage Month, and on the second floor and third floor that Kakim later will talk about it more. So the first mad project was the festival itself, and about this project as well. The festival always had this desire, and we still continue to strive to convince everybody across Montreal that the month of May is Asian Heritage Month. So all the Maison de la Culture and other cultural institutions should provide programming that presents Asian artists. And so to do that, of course, we don't have political power or extraordinary power to do this. So we have to go knock on the door every Maison de la Culture and talk to them and convince them. Of course, most of the Maison de la Culture that we went to them, they, with great pleasure, they receive us and they open the door towards us. And the Maison de la Culture Côte des Neiges was one of them. I talked to Luz, who unfortunately left the Maison de la Culture a few months ago. I talked to her 2 years ago. I myself am a visual artist and I had an exhibition here. And during my exhibition, I talked to her and I said, well, I'd like to, as the artistic director of the festival, I'd like to talk to you about the project with the festival and come here and do exhibition for the festival. And then since then, the conversation began, and then back and forth, I talked to Kakim, who as well, Kakim is, just for the ones who don't know, is an artist who has been involved with the festival for God knows how many years, 10, 15
no,
years?
No, since, in fact, I first moved here in 1999, and the great pleasure of meeting with the festival team, because my father was invited to give a poetry reading. My father was a fairly colorful character. He was a poet, doctor, and nightclub owner. And so in 1999 at Maison de la Culture Frontenac, he gave a poetry reading, and I met these crazy cats.
Yeah. So Kakim is
I've been involved.
One of the rare artists that is second generation here for the Festival Accès Asie. So we have known each other, we have exhibited together, we have organized so many events together. So I thought was the right person. So I went to him and asked him if he could step forward and then take over the anniversary exhibition for the festival. And so he accepted it, and since then, for the last 2 years, we have been working on this, and it became more exciting since last 6 months, I believe, that of the conversation. As you know, the exhibition downstairs involves few artists who don't live here in Canada. They are, some of them are based in Europe, some of them are living in India, I believe. And so it was this the communication, and then there was another organization who got involved. So it was a long process, but very happy ending. As you see, that's the result. Was this good enough?
I hope so.
Okay.
We'll have to mark you on that.
After this, you can keep it open, so if you have questions, you can always ask us.
So on my side, I'm a visual artist, a visual performance artist, and I've actually had a lot of exhibitions with Festival Accès Asie, and the last one being in 2013. And that was a duo exhibition with another artist who is absent today. Her name is Verona Sorensen, and our exhibition was called Absence and Presence. So we are present here now, but she's absent. And so based on the success of that, and also our long-standing friendships and relationships, Kohsro approached me about this idea of programming the visual arts segment. And I started really in earnest last January, really putting together different pieces. One of the major objectives of the exhibitions or this project was to bring artists that we hadn't worked with before, new blood, so to speak, and just to kind of to instead of recycling some of the old artists that we've shown over the years, we wanted to really bring in something fresh and something new that would also be in tandem with this idea of the 20th anniversary. So based on that, basically I just cold called, so to speak. I did searches on the internet and the websites for artists here in Montreal of Asian descent or artists who were working with an Asian theme. And surprisingly enough, out of this large, I had a very large selection to choose from, but I basically cut it down to just a few artists. The original idea that I had for this floor, the one that we're on, Checkpoints, was actually a 3-person show that in the end happily ended up being a 2-person show. Having participated in many group exhibitions, I was always kind of slightly dissatisfied with the fact that you don't really get to get a good idea of an artist's work through a group exhibition. So if you have like 10 artists or 6 artists or 5 artists, sometimes their work gets diluted, no matter how strong their work is. So I really wanted to give a focus on particular artists' work and give them enough space to breathe, their works enough space to breathe and to speak to the audiences. So my main objective was to do a 3-person show, which became a 2-person show. And that's when I contacted Huajin and Pavitra, who unfortunately is not here. And I proposed to them this idea of the exhibition, and happily they accepted. And around that period, we also got approached by an artist collective called the Digital Silk Route. It's an international collective based in Toronto. And the curator for that collective is named Bindu Mehra. She's originally from India, but she lives in Toronto. So they approached us about putting on an exhibit, in fact, to put on a couple of screenings of videos by their artists who are based internationally. And the Digital Silk Route, grosso modo, is a collective that whose works are based on the ideas of migration, transnationalism, displacement, questions of identity. And so we thought that, or at least I thought that, between the 2 shows, with Checkpoints as a theme and the Digital Silk Route, Real and Imagine, that somehow we could find some commonalities and differences. And from January onwards, we basically worked on it. I worked very closely with Huajin and Pavitra, and as well with Bindu, who was based in Toronto. So that entailed a lot of emails with Bindu, a lot of phone calls, kind of remote work, so to speak. During that period, I also met on many occasions with Huajin and Pavitra to meet in the social club, and we would talk about the ideas, We talk about the selection of work, so that it wouldn't be just me selecting their work, but they themselves would be building their pieces towards an end, the end being the exhibition. And so, well, I'll then invite Hua to speak about her experience during that period.
Yeah, I think to be continuing about your subject, I think maybe you should mention this work is specifically created for this show, the new work. Right?
Yes, yeah. This particular work by Pavitra, was created for this show, as well as some of the other pieces that you see on the wall too. We didn't really, well, at least I didn't really want to just get artists to bring out, from their stock of works, just the pieces that they couldn't show, which is often the case during group exhibitions. I really wanted the artists to bring in new works if possible. Yes, please.
I was just noting the distinction you're making between a show that's intensely focused on one or two artists and the group exhibition. But I think that the artist's works speak differently when they are together with other artists' works, and there's a very important role that the curator or rather the curatorial framework takes when there is a group exhibition. So I was just thinking how this exhibition, it's a conversation between two artists, whereas the group exhibition may be a conversation with a larger group of artists, and so there's not really that much of a distinction, except perhaps in terms of scale.
Yes.
But can I ask you a question?
Please, go ahead.
Okay, so for the downstairs exhibition, it's curated by two curators.
Yes.
By the organizer of
The Bindu Mehra, she's the curator for the Digital Silk Route, and we worked together. We curated the exhibition together.
Okay, so that would be considered a group exhibition.
That is a good group exhibition.
So back to the Pavitra.
I mean, it's interesting working with two very different setups of exhibitions and two very different selections of artists. In fact, I should point out that with the Digital Silk Route, most of the previous exhibitions weren't exhibitions at all, they were screenings. So just primarily video screenings. And they would be in the form of just a one-night screening or 2 evenings, and that's it. To my knowledge, this is the first time that these videos are actually on exhibit for a prolonged period of time. Maybe we can look at, for example, checkpoints in terms of the theme. A lot of people have asked me about the theme. Why checkpoints? Is there some kind of political connotation to it? And I believe, well, I guess there is to a certain sense, but for me it was more the idea of checkpoints. When you go from one country to another, from one border to another, you always stop at the checkpoint and they'll check your identification. They look at your passport and they make sure that you are who you are. They'll look at that funny little photograph of you, all serious, and say, okay, you look like you are who you are. I think the idea was mainly the idea of checkpoints in terms of not only do people check who you are, but you also have to check yourself at a certain point before you go from one state to another, or from one country to another, or from one border to another. And what I saw in both of the artists' works was this underlying theme, or this underlying feeling of always this questioning of identity. Who am I? What am I? Where am I now? And so I thought it was really interesting to kind of allow these artists to take stock of not only their artistic lives, but their personal lives at a certain point, and share that with the public. And so I thought that the idea of the contrast between Pavitra's work and Hua Jin's would really make for a fascinating intersection as well as a balance.
Yeah, when Kakim mentioned that the self-check about self, like who you are, where you are, it happens earlier in my life. That's about more than 10 years ago. I wasn't originally an artist. I was a graphic designer, working in Shanghai for advertising company for more than 10 years, and then I switched to be artist because There's because my parents passed away. My father passed away in about 2001, which is 14 years ago. He got cancer and he left us like within 3 months. That was a shock when I was in my 20s. And then after my father passed away, my mother wasn't in a very good mood, so she got stomach cancer. Within like 4 years, she left us as well. So at that point, I was in my 20s. At that point, I was doing design for the company, like big brand, like Adidas, something like that. I was designing some others like idea, and then the shock, my life experience kind of made me to check myself, like in terms of life. Like I witnessed lots of people die. It's not only my parents, but also my parents, they live in cancer hospital, so I go to cancer hospital to visit them like very often. So I see the people, no matter how rich they are, how poor they are, how old, how young, like beautiful, ugly, whatever. So you see them like, you see a person like the empty bed in my mother's hospital. You see like very often. You see people there. So when I was in my early 20s, I started thinking, why I'm here? Like why? What's the meaning? Like the entire whole life. So I started to really think about the very basic, well, maybe people call it philosophical question. Really, really think about myself, my life. So at that time, I couldn't concentrate on design for people, for big brands. So I quit my job, and then the loss of like a burden and heaviness inside of myself, inside of emotionally and then mentally. So I really want to figure out this question. So during that time, after my father passed away, I kind of want to run away from the big city. I lived in Shanghai, which is a big city. So I started to travel alone, like backpacking, go to Mongolia, go to like very rural side in China. And I think I almost explored half of China by my own, like a backpacking work, like just go whatever I want to go, just want to breathe from this heavy sadness of the death from my parents. So from then, I have my camera. I start to learn, to try to, because there are lots of questions inside of myself. So I want to find the answers from other people's life. I start to learn how to observe from other people through the lens of my camera. Since then, I start to the photo language, how the language of photo can help me to express my emotion, my question, my thoughts, my feelings. So that's kind of my checkpoint in the early of my life. So this personal experience also directly linked to this project, which is called my Big Family Project. Because in 2007, I give up everything that I have in China. I quit my job. I left everything that I have in China and moved here just to study photography because after I experienced the death of lots of people, I know that I need to do what I want to do in my life. That's the decision. So I moved here. I studied photography. I lived in Vancouver for about 5 years. I studied at American photo department, and I come here because I'm doing my master here at Concordia University Fine Art photo department. So I continuously from self-taught to school institutional learning of photo. It's been 6 years. So this project is my big family project because when I first a few years immigrated to Canada, I feel this land. I have no relation in terms of culture, in terms of people. I couldn't find any relation. This new country, new culture. So I really very curious, homesick. I start to think about each of my family members. I feel really bad as a photographer that I didn't have a chance to take photos of my parents when they're with us. So I started this big family project. Each year I went back to China to take photos of each of my extended family members. The other reason of this big family project is it has a close connection with the Chinese one-child policy. As you may know, some of you may know that at the beginning of 70s, the Chinese government started to promote one-child policy to control the birth of Chinese people, the population of Chinese people, because too many people. So I was one of the few generations. So, but another thing is that I'm lucky because I'm twins. I have twin sisters, so which they have no way to control twins. So I have a sister. That most of my generation, they are single child, and their kids are only allowed to have single child. So this documentary of my big family is also a documentary about the changing of family structure in terms of family value, family structure, and the diversity of different family members. As you can see, some of my family live in the countryside, some live in the big city of Shanghai. So there's a very huge difference in terms of education, like income, like financial study. Everything is quite different. I see this project is a small image of a small Chinese society. It's very common. It's not my big family. It's not typical. It's not very special. It's actually a very common traditional Chinese family. So this is a long-term and ongoing project. I started in the summer of 2010. So I'm continually doing this. I hope I can keep doing as long as I can, because the changing of generation, the changing of family is a process, and you can see the process within the years. And I'm also happy that you see my grandma is there, but she passed away in 2012. So I'm happy that I include her before she left me. So I kind of feel I'm visually gathering all of my families together, in my photos. And after, I lost my own family and my own parents, so that's a way for me to be not too lonely. I have my family here, and I have the story here sharing with you guys. Yeah. That's the story. That's also my understanding of this checkpoint of this scene. Yeah.
But this one you work is mostly personal.
Yeah,
experience.
Yeah.
But checkpoint, he says, it's very nice when you go to the border. You see somebody else, stranger ask you your ID, so it's very curious.
I'm curious why Canada as opposed to somewhere else, or even remaining in China?
It's actually in China the situation is easier to apply. One I think is Canada, the other one is Australia. Yeah. So it's just the situation. I don't have a lot of choice in terms of financial situation. It's easier to come here. Also, America is a good art university, and they have good photo program, as well as here in Korea.
So basically, insofar as the theme of this exhibition is concerned, it's at two levels. And so you actually have that self-examination, sort of checking yourself at the passage of your family, but you also immigrated in a sense.
Yeah.
So you did pass an actual physical border.
Yes. I'm Canadian now.
It's funny you should mention that, because at one point during the process of working with the artist, it's for example, if we look at this, the invitation, it started off with like the country where the artists were born and the city or the town where they dwell in now. And when it came to Hua, what was interesting is I had her as China, and but I used to have her as China and Montreal, and at one point, and this was a very conscious decision, she emailed me and she said, "Can you please take out China and put in Canada? I'm Canadian now." And when you're working with 8 different artists, all based internationally, it's very difficult to standardize things. But the way that she said it with such conviction, it really it had a resonance in me, in that she finally somehow realized, like, this is where I'm at. And at the same time, a couple of months before, she had the pleasure of sitting in a coffee shop. I think it was in a coffee shop, social club, and she showed us on her computer her newest works, which were these pieces, these large landscape pieces, almost like Rorschachs, as well as a collection of other landscape pieces that were taken here in Quebec. Was it Ontario? With the branches, like
It's still here. This is Montreal, yeah.
Very, very, very detailed. There's something very lyrical, very poetic about these pieces. And I saw quite a big changed from her photo-based pieces or even her installation works that I'd seen previously?
Yeah, this two very different work. So this work is very simple that directly come from my personal experience. So it's not, I would say, when I do this family project, I didn't think that that's a piece of art project. That's something I really want to do personally. It's really I have to do as a photographer. I don't think anything like conceptually, any concepts or big series from this. But maybe you can find something maybe from the Chinese policy or one West policy. But this one is like after I would say I suffered a lot from my parents' death, also from the first few years immigrant here. But I didn't speak English. I don't have any friends here. Just come here alone, start from zero, and then I would say it's not the easy year. The first few years it was tough. So the tough experience makes me to think again, to check myself again, like why and why life? How do you perceive life? Like, so this comes out from this big piece. I start to interest in Buddhists, like, and there's a saying of theory that how do we experience our reality determines like how do we, what's the perspective we look at certain things. So this big work, I try to create two types of watching experience. One is that this photo is taken by a 8x10 large format camera, which enable us, like the audience, to see the great details. If you get really close to look at this piece, you see like details, like each windows from each building, like the smokes, everything is so detailed. So you can feel when you look like close as this distance, you see this world is so real. Everything is so real. The tree, the branch, the city, the building, the river, everything is so real. It's concrete over there. But again, when you take steps back, if you stand at that camera position, you look at this picture, it's like, it's surreal. It's floating. The whole world is floating up in the air. It's like Buddha's. It has a saying that there's nothing permanent.
It's just like a balance between the reality and fiction.
So I start to understand the things, nothing permanent. Also from the experience of death, nothing permanent. So I had a great family, I had great parents, but they gone. So you, as a person, I need to learn how to face this, the thing, the reality. So I start to learn how to take steps back from certain things. You may get involved from certain things that you look at the world. So this is my study from Buddhism. So you see the real thing, and you see also if you really take distance to look at the thing, you may feel everything can be gone. Everything maybe is not permanent. Everything is like something up in the air. So I try to create these two different experiences. That's why I create a big piece, so to allow people to take a close look and also walk far and to look at it with different views. So that's my intention of this big piece. So visually these two projects are different, but personally it connects. As an artist, I think it still connects to my personal experience. Yeah.
I mean, speaking of checkpoints and the crossing of borders, I mean, one of the major driving forces in the exhibition that we present downstairs was to kind of take a kind of an artistic snapshot of the experiences associated with so often conflicting feelings associated with migration, with that questioning of identity. And so Khadija Baker is one of our 6 artists downstairs. I should point out that the other artists who are non-present are Bindu Mera, who's the co-curator, and also one of the artists presenting a video downstairs. And then we've got Ting Ting Cheng from Taiwan, based in UK, Verena Kiselka from Germany, Veer Munchi from Kashmir in India, and Wahar Vastifad, who's Iranian based in Sweden. And so for her pieces, Khadija has presented a video piece and as well as a performance. So would you care to speak about that, please?
Yeah, actually I was invited by Mohra a few years ago to be part of the digital Silk Road, and yeah, I had few works that are talking about my own experience as immigrant, but it's not only about my immigration to Canada, it's also about like the past experience of living in Syria. So basically I am Kurdish who was born in Syria but of Kurdish origin. So in Syria, the Kurdish, I don't know if you know about the Kurdish situation. They are divided into four regions and 4 countries. So there are borders who are dividing these people. So we have part of the family still in Turkey. My grandparents came from Turkey and live in Syria, but I was born there. So my parents also were born there. So my parents were in Turkey. I never felt immigrant in Syria. And we never felt that the other people, because we felt like this is our land, it's just the border that divides us. So at that time I was not aware of what it means, the border, what is it identity, because I just felt home and there was no distraction except for the political issue. We were always restricted in terms of practicing our culture, our language, our intellectual rights. So but even at that time, it was not a big reflection. We were just struggling to keep our culture. It was a struggle to keep our culture, and people who were thinking of when we will have our country. My second experience about immigration is strong. My immigration to Canada here, when there is no language, zero economical background, zero family here. We have nothing here. It's just we come to a place and we always have this idea, which is, I think, general among immigrants. We are traveling to this rich country, we are immigrating. Whatever is the reason, we think we are going to paradise. And we think there is, yeah, it's better place, it's better life, you got everything better. It's not like that. We come here and we start to struggle. Our first struggle is the language. Second struggle is to make communication and make a new life and new friend, a new family, all these things, and it's emotional. It just takes me back to my first day when I come here.
Water? A little bit of water?
Yes.
It's spring water.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel Canadian as much as I feel Syrian, but I just reflect about Syria now. Especially about my family who are displaced again. Sorry.
It's okay.
So
as you might know, Khadija has come from a region who is being in a very bloody situation over the last many years. People have been moved by force from their homeland, having gone through unwanted war, and this tragedy has been going on. And historically, the Kurdish people have lived a very complicated life.
Thank you.
Which has been always, their identity has been under questions. Either, as she mentioned, Kurds have lived in 4 countries, in Iran, in Syria, in Turkey, and in Iraq. And unfortunately, this region of the world has been going through the wars. Even Kurds among themselves, and other people imposing the war on the Kurds. And so historically, there's a huge memory that is related to this very unfortunate experience. And that shows in Khadija's work. And Khadija, since she's been in Montreal, just arrived here, even though, as she mentioned, she's building a new home here. As you see, her beautiful son is here. She has another son. She has been living here, but always this part of her who has been there back home, as her roots are there, she has been always going back to this experience and bring it back for us, as people who live here are about far away from her homeland, to learn about this situation. And this has been something that is very courageous, as you have seen, is having to do this, going through this. It takes a lot of emotions, a lot of courage, and she has been doing just this over the last 10 years, and I know her personally. She has been working extremely hard as well. Besides working on her art, she's been struggling very, very hard to make sure that, you know, her life is going well, her children are doing well and going to school, and everything is perfect. So is one of the people that I've known over the last many, many years that I'm extremely touched by her lifestyle, and we are very proud to have her among us today, and we have presented her a couple of times again before, and it's been always a great enriching experience. So thank you for sharing this very honest and very transparent experience, which really touches us all.
Yeah, it's actually, it's the challenge. It's not only like, what is border at the end? Like, what are the border at the end? This is the question I am putting in this piece specifically, which is usually I work with too much emotion in my work. But this piece I wanted to have more in a sense of a work that has a sense of humor in it. It's like a game. You go and sit at a table, you face another person, and you enter each other's intimate space, like to eat. It's very personal. You always you share food with people who are close to you, and it looks fancy, but this is basic action, basic daily action. Everybody should have it in a comfortable way. Like it's a way of surviving, right? We eat food to survive, to live. So when you are sharing this specific moment, it's not very direct. It's more like a reflection about immigration. Like when somebody crossed the border, from the first moment you become the other. So you are separated from who you were. You are not the person who you were anymore. I go back to my hometown. They look at me as a visitor, not as their daughter anymore. Yeah, I am their daughter, but when we talk about specific thing, oh, you are not here, you don't know. Mm-hmm. And when we are here, everybody asks where you are from. So you live in between these
You're a stranger everywhere.
Stranger everywhere. Actually, the kids make it easier. It's just making us, the parents, feel like rooted into these places in terms of communication, in terms of family base. It's not only about like reality, it's also the feeling that we have as well. It's just kind of settle us down a little bit. So the work is also a reflection about, like, if we think about the border, they are created like the border. When they put, like, let me talk specifically about the border of my own country, Kurdistan. It doesn't exist, but it exists in daily life in terms of language, culture, families, communication, all these things. It exists, but there are division in between of us. There is every year when we have a certain festival or certain event, we go to the border, we talk to each other without crossing the border. So we meet each other, but the border is still there. So for us, it doesn't exist because our communication are there. So, but on the other hand, when an immigrant tries to escape, when there is violence in certain place, when you escape from violence, then you lose all this kind of connection because you left everything behind you. You live only with your family member, and you want to stay alive, and you just don't take anything. Sometimes people just run away because there is an attack, and they don't even take their document with them. So in this kind of situation, when there is violence, you leave all the comfort, all the memory, everything behind, and you just go to the new place, and you survive, and you never feel rooted. This doesn't come. So in this work specifically, I want to say, like, it's not also like the difficulty that I am revealing. I'm looking at the other part, how you look to the other, the immigrant, the stranger, who you always see them stranger. It doesn't matter how many generations. You might see my grandchildren in the future. Somebody will ask them where you are from because of color, of skin, of certain other things. So I'm also looking at this kind of question we have in our daily life. So we have these questions. How much our children will reflect on that? How much you accept us, why do we look like the other? When somebody come tomorrow, shall I look at them as the other as well? Because I am Canadian now and they will become Canadian later, but I am here like longer time ago. It's this question, how much time we need to have to be as a people from certain land? Or what is there really something that there are no rules actually. What if there are borders and you cross them and you are immigrant or not? If it is about identity, if it is about other thing, our daily life, there is no rule actually. The border existed just to regulate our communication, to make our life safer. So if we need a safer place, this is the most important. Looking at the human comfort, this is the most important. Looking at everybody's comfort and daily life, like basic life, and eating on the table is very basic. The food is the basic thing we need to share with each other to be able to live, to survive. And this is what I am reflecting on in my work, basically.
I do have a question. Because it's interesting when you were talking, you talked about, some of your family is in Turkey, and as a Kurd, there's no reward for you. I'm just wondering though, because the Kurds live in several countries in the region, like 14 countries, how do you really perceive what they do? Like, for example, you're living in Syria, there's other Kurds in Iraq and elsewhere. Do you really consider there to be no border at all, or how do you actually see those connections across countries between those Kurdish populations?
This is very complicated issue. It's really complicated, and the more time passes, the more complicated it becomes, because generation and mixing up. You have no border. Like Arab people and Kurd people love each. Like with two person will fall in love and in each other and they marry. So how do you think about these people? In our area, we have Arab as well. Since the political agenda brought some Arab to our area, there is now a lot of marriage happen between Kurds and Arab. We have no restriction. And they are mixed up in between the border. Like my husband is from Iraq, he's Kurdish, but my family said, oh, no, you can't marry him. They opposed because simply he was not from Syrian part. But when it comes to nationality, they say, oh no, we are Kurds. So this contradiction is there. Like you accept if a female marry Arab man, but you don't accept because he is Kurdish, but is from. So this border becomes like really like, it's the propaganda that is making us feeling, oh, we are attached, and it's like feeding our mind, oh, this is your border, you stay in it and you are safe. Otherwise, somebody comes and will endanger you. You are not there. It's this feeling that political. It's a political game. They play around this theme actually. So I don't think there is real map or real border or real immigration, because immigration has been there forever, and people immigrate because they need to communicate, they need to live. It's a way of making living as well. Immigration is not only this, but when it's the most difficult immigration experience is when there is violence, and then you lose the sense of home. And this is the most challenging one, because the person experiencing like a sudden immigration, and it's not a decision, it's not a desire, it becomes like a forest to immigrate. So it's very hard to see like how much we belong to each other. When it comes to national question, yeah, we are Kurds, we want to have a country, we want to have our independence. When it comes to individual person, when we meet each other, oh, where you are from? It's again the same question. I'm Kurdish from Syria, Kurdish from Iran, or like, let's not talk about division from certain tribe or certain family. Even this is important. So, like, come on, it's like how much sorting you want to make to be able to connect to the other person. It's, you know, the moral issue, it becomes very important because you talk about where is your religion or where you come from, and you don't ask about other questions, because human communication is based on moral, about how much we are close to each other, how much the person is really related to you or not. It's not about only these things. Yeah.
I should point out that Khadija has a video downstairs, First Encounter, and also Encounter Chance, thank you. And as well, she presented last Saturday during the vernissage a performance piece in which she invited the audience to come up and feed each other, so to speak. And so when you go downstairs and you see that long table with the long utensils, that's part of the performance. And it was a privilege to see that, and it was also entertaining to watch as well. A lot of the other pieces I've seen of Khadijah's, as Khadijah said, most of my pieces make people cry. I wanted to make people laugh. And it was a delight to see people laughing and feeding each other and being messy. And in fact, your son, she fed her son in front of an audience. So how did that feel?
Sleepy.
Oh, he's sleeping. Okay, then fine.
Almost.
But also the fragility of just the act itself of eating and taking something that we kind of take for granted, you know, our utensils normally this long, but because of that, the elongation of the tool, it changes everything. You still have the food, you still have the tool, but you can't, and you can still eat, but you don't do it in the same way.
It's the easiness that I am taking away. As I told you, like, I created this game. It was like a game. There was a condition because you use this instance. You could use your hand, but I made it as a game. You go and play this game. This is like when this placement, it includes this game. Like, there is a game actually. So the instances are not only long, they are heavy. So you eat it, but it's too heavy to practice it. You can't do it. It's even more difficult when you feed yourself. It becomes easier when you feed the other person and you see the other person, and it becomes like this performance. I did it in few different settings. When sometimes it's more difficult, sometimes it's more easy, but it's still difficult to practice this basic thing. So the heaviness of it, you can't continue. If you stay longer on the table, you will feel it because they are heavy, they are metal. So the utensil are not like the small one that you eat and you don't even feel it because it's practical. I take away from it the practicality and the easiness and the laughter. Difficult situation also make us laugh. It's a humor, but in a sense where it's like contradictory. It's paradox, Kaggle way. So I make them laugh, but you laugh, but it was difficult and funny. Why you laugh? It was difficult. It's just I wanted to look at it in a different way.
Yeah, if I was talking about this area, Iraq, Kurdistan, and Syria, I think the checkpoint is most difficult because the borders are very close. You know? So it's just like for me, no man's land. You know, if you got the border and you know who you are, I just put them over your mask. This is your name, where you come from, you know, and start over and over again. So it's really At the same time, you were talking about the performance when you eat longer and so. And this is nice because you eat at the same time. It's very difficult to mastic, you know, eating very well.
Est-ce que nous avons des questions? Vous avez des questions en français aussi à poser? Bonjour. Avez-vous des questions?
Vous approchez?
Non, mais venez, si vous voulez. But one of the things that I found most people have in common is that nowadays most families, most people are displaced in the sense that they may be born in one place or born in a culture, but they generally end up living somewhere else. And I don't think you need to be an immigrant to experience that. A lot of people that I know, they move from West Canada, Eastern Canada here. They're away from their families. In the sense that is a reinvention. Whenever you move away from that source, and that source being primary the community of primary family, you're forced to question again, who am I? Right? Can I reinvent myself?
This is very interesting because my parents who were almost born in Turkey, they were too young when they immigrated or moved from one city to the other. When they moved, but now they are displaced. They are in Turkey and they feel as a stranger. And I say, but you have your family around you. Like, why you feel this way? They cry when I talk to them. They cry. Like, but you are around family still. It's okay. You know the language. You have no problem. Like, it's not like when you go to another country. But we lost our home. It's like our people, the people who are really like the daily life, this basic daily life. When you lose it, this is what is missing from them. This is what is taken away from an immigrant. Not only like the other thing, but these are the basic things.
I don't know if you mentioned this for your piece, but you might have said this. But for me, it's interesting the idea of feeding, which is a very basic daily thing that we do. It's interesting when you make sometimes when you traverse the border, when you come into new borders, there is a relearning that happens as you experience. And it's interesting that basic aspect of just eating, in case of your work, becomes a challenging thing. And it's something that has to be relearned.
Exactly.
And so the eating tool is kind of like a metaphor for that change.
Exactly.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And also how the non-immigrant, people, let's say the people who were born in the same place, it's also reflecting on coexistence in a way as well. Like, you cannot, this is a huge land, it existed, it's a new country, a new culture, it's emerging and it's growing and it's getting older. So, but we need people, still we need people. So there is another need as well. It's not like we bring the people, the immigration, it's part of bringing people to build somewhere that needs effort. So it's also the other side as well, looking at the other side.
Avez-vous des commentaires or des questions? Any more questions or comments? Oh, please.
I have some free word I want to share. I mean, I really like the newcomer come here. I think it's still I have been here for EdMed, and maybe in the future I mean like a new immigration also. But what I see is just for all people we have same problem is just we try to compare our past and with our future with our current situations. So my question is, maybe it's because the world is thinking in a different way. Maybe we're thinking in the same way, so we try to look for some difference. We try to look for different now and different from the past, our experience. What I say is, if we forget our difference, we just look for the similarity, like you say, color, color of people. I think our similarity is not bigger than difference. Like you say, maybe today you are Canadian, or you are Syrian. I mean, if you just forget the difference, maybe both in part of you. So you could be Canadian, you could be. So I think maybe it's not as all people is being. I think maybe we are developed by the world education. We like comparison, and we look for something the Madame say, for something permanent. But for me, I think permanent not future. It's our past, because past is real. For you, it's forever, right? So why we always looking for? I mean, tomorrow we forgot something we already experienced, water, think that is real for us. So what I say is maybe we change some like thinking model and we care about the things, the real and imagine something good for the future. I think that maybe is the harmony for the whole thing. But in Chinese saying we say we live 3 days, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I think yesterday we need to accept whatever is good, right? You need to accept. Today you need to enjoy that, right? But tomorrow whatever is good, right? You need to believe that. So if you can do that all 3 days, I think that is good. So
Yeah.
the bad thing is you don't accept the yesterday, and you waste your today, and you don't believe tomorrow. So
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I'm just sorry. I'm just going to mention something that what you say is good, but at the same time, if you live in a situation that you know that night that you are going to sleep in the morning, you might not wake up because there's a bombardment or whatever.
Sure.
So that you cannot just limit yourself to that philosophy. So it's a question of a struggle as well to survive, and I guess this aspect of the.
It's really sometimes it's specific like every we have very bad over beyond our like human ability. Like what's that? I'm like a single, like unique, like one child policy, right? I'm just first generation, and my dad passed away also. I mean, a lot of experience. I'm now is like a newcomer, immigration. So I think that things, everything, whatever you are rich or poor, I think something you need to pass through. It's part of life. So maybe. I don't know. I think about it. Maybe that I think we cannot choose the beginning. We cannot choose the end. I think for all people the same. So the only choice is actually in between. And also I feel at least my personal feeling is that the word is kind of like a big value. It's just a good person, bad person, Canadian person or Chinese person. But in the real, I think that most people in between. I'm not a good person. I'm not a bad person. I'm just a normal person. Yeah, I mean, I'm not Canadian person, I'm not Chinese, even I cannot present the Chinese. A lot of Chinese different from me. I'm just myself,
Yeah, this is exactly.
So what I say is, we cannot like category the people, like men, women, like our people is in the middle. So we need space. And if we look for the difference, it's everything different. If we look at similarity, everything the same.
Human experience are very similar. You cannot separate. You cannot make a divide. You are born and you pass through something you choose to do or not to do, and then you go back to where you came from.
Also, a lot of people ask the questions of who you are and where you come from. I think maybe the people saying this question, if people receive the message, the two sentences have different meanings. Because I want who you are, where you come from. My meaning is I want to know you, I want to understand you. But maybe from your point of view, you say, I am who I really am. So it's totally different. But I think we need a time to transition to get along each other. Maybe take some like, I don't know, maybe 1 month or life, it's really time to shape the person.
There are two things you can talk about. Like one, when you are the person who is really working on yourself, it's you are born in. I always take what is good for me and what I believe in. Like there are a lot of tradition that I don't like from my culture, and there are a lot of tradition I don't like from this culture. So I take what I like. I take what it's good with my morality, with my what is make me balanced. But also there are the other, like around you, like people just immediately say you are, it's not only you. You don't exist by yourself. There are, if you face this on a daily basis, like where you are from, like what you are doing, or in work, like you are perceived differently because you are a woman, or because you are a woman from different background, or like different things you face on daily experience. You just question this is not because you question yourself, you question the people around you who should also reflect about these things, and this is what we do. But there is also like this Yeah, I know. Like what you said is almost based on Buddhist way, like concentrate on the presence, right? I think also we should take what convince us on daily basis. The similarity are great, and differences are great as well, because what make us individual, and these are important thing as well. So, but you don't underestimate the other, or you don't put it like this is very important. The like both treating each other, which is important. The moment you cross the border, you start questioning this, and a new identity started. This is very theoretical rule, but it's true. The moment you pass, there is a new language, there are a new thought, a new idea, you meet a new culture, you are trying to survive within it, and you take from it, and when you go back, there are a lot of things in different places. I'm sure like the systematic way, in a few years, you go back to China, you will just, you don't take it anymore, because there is a new person in you that is born, and you change. You are not the same at all, and you start to question what is going on, and the people you left are changing as well. So the differences also are important as the similarity. So we talk about the human experience, it's important, but also the experience of daily life.
Well, on that point, speaking of similarities, I believe everybody is rather thirsty. We have some wonderful juice and water over there. We should stretch our legs, but before we do, I just want to thank everybody for coming here. Je voudrais remercier tout le monde qui sont ici. Thank you for taking this time on this. He's falling asleep. Someone catch him. For taking this time on this very sunny and hot, delightful Sunday to spend your day indoors with us, your afternoon. And I'd like to thank Kohsro. Bravo. The very sexy Accès Asie team. La Maison de la Culture, Côte-des-Neiges, Colin. And I'd like to give my heartfelt thanks to the artists who are here.
Thank you.
Hua.
Thank you for working so hard.
Khadija. I'd also like to thank the artists who are not here. We've got Ting Ting Cheng. She's somewhere in London right now. Maybe she's eating some fish and chips. Thank you very much. Verena Kiselka. Maybe she's having some choucroute. In Germany, Berlin. Bindu Mera. She's probably on public transport in Toronto. Veer Munshi, who is in India, probably having lunch. Rahul Vastefad, who is somewhere in Sweden. Maybe she's dancing the polka. And Pavitra, heartfelt thanks to Pavitra, who unfortunately can't be here, but with good reason. She has a new baby, who, as far as I know, doesn't have a name yet. So, to the unknown baby, Pavitra and her boyfriend, Jonathan, merci beaucoup. Donc,